Hello, and welcome back to Doomed, solo playthroughs through Arkham Horror the card game with a focus on roleplay and storytelling. Today, we will be tackling another standalone scenario, Roland Banks in the Carnevale of Horrors, with a deck I like to call On the Banks of Venice. I roll. As always, if you want to get straight into the action, there's a time code down in the comments. Otherwise, we'll just do a very brief reminder of how standalone scenarios work, and we'll take a look at what the scenario actually is all about. If you haven't already watched the previous episode of Doomed, which is Ashcan, Pete, and Duke taking on Curse of the Rougarou, you don't have to watch it. You don't have to. If you want to check it out, of course, it is the previous video on this playlist. However, that was my first standalone scenario as part of Doomed, which, you know, no spoilers, it went. And I had a great time playing a deck through a standalone scenario, and I'm looking forward to doing it again today. I will say, I think based on what Doomed is all about, roleplay and storytelling, probably going to have a lot more fun looking at a deck and its upgrades in the context of a campaign, rather than a single scenario. There's just more story, and there's more opportunity to make decisions about a character and their progression based on how the story is playing out when there's more scenarios. Makes sense. However, I will say I'm very excited for today. Carnevale of Horrors is a pretty exciting scenario. It's a pretty cool one. And Roland Banks is a classic investigator, and I'll get into that in just a brief moment. As a reminder, playing a scenario standalone means that you are allowed to take experience. If you take experience over 9 XP, for every 10 thereafter, you have to add an additional weakness into your deck. So you get to start with cooler cards, but you also have a higher likelihood of drawing weaknesses throughout your playthrough, which, as we all know, is fine. It's going to increase the swinginess of a scenario and of how things get played. So I'm hoping that I've kind of offset that enough. We'll have to see. Enough talk. Roland Banks isn't about talk, he's about action. Let's get into it. Let's get doomed. And here we are, staring down the Carnevale of Horrors. Now, I can already hear you asking me, Scott, what is this? What's going on here? And don't worry, I'm gonna get to it. I think first it's most important for us to check out our investigator. Roland Banks, the Fed. Now, I want to point out, Roland Banks is the Guardian from the core set. Agnes, who I played through Return to Night of the Zealot, was the Mystic from the core set. When I say the core set, this is the core set of cards and scenarios included with Arkham Horror, the card game, which means that all players must and will own these investigators. Because Guardian is the first class in the 5-class setup, that means that Roland Banks is the first investigator you ever meet out of the box. And I think in a lot of ways, he's very representative of the mythos. He's a fighter, but he's also an investigator. You know, he's got his trench, he's got his hat, and he's ready to just get in there, get his hands in the dirty guts of the mythos and figure out what's going on. Okay, in brief, Roland Banks, the Fed, is a 3 willpower, 3 intellect, 4 combat, 2 agility investigator, not a bad stat line. He's agency and detective traded. He has 9 health and 5 sanity, and his reaction ability says, after you defeat an enemy, discover a clue at your location, limit once per round. So, not only can he probably investigate in his own right, but also every time he defeats an enemy, he discovers some evidence at the scene. He is a detective after all. His Elder Son effect says +1 for each clue on your location. So no fancy effects there, but at least that's generally 0 to 2 or higher. This gets better in higher play counts. Ew. 9 health and 5 sanity. Everything by the book. Every I dotted, every T crossed. It had worked. Until now. Roland Banks can take Guardian cards and Seeker cards, which again makes him a really, it's a really kind of classic setup of a character, but Guardians typically are good at fighting things, and Seekers are pretty good at finding things, so together. Roland had always taken comfort in procedure and rules. As an agent in the Bureau, he was relieved to have guidelines to follow in any given situation. But lately, his Federal Agent's Handbook had been entirely unhelpful, given the cases he'd been assigned. try as he might, Roland could find no mention of what to do when confronted with strange creatures, gates through time and space, or magic spells. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he would have never believed it, and there's no way his superiors would understand. Roland knew he would have to handle this one himself. Classic detective Roland. Alright, do I want to say anything about Roland? Well, I just want to say his reaction ability once per round, defeat an enemy, get a clue, is nice. It's a testless clue, action compression, it's all very good. I've spent a ton of experience on this deck, 29 to be precise, which means that I've included 2 extra basic weaknesses, which we will find. You'll notice there's a lot happening on the table already. I'll get to that when we draw our opening hand so you all know what's going on. Let's read the scenario. The Carnevale is coming. Look, Sheriff Engel insists. I know it sounds crazy, but that's really all there is to it. He sighs and sits back down, pouring himself a cup of joe for you and one for himself. A dame in Uptown spotted a cracked egg wearing this mask and holding a bloody butcher's cleaver, he says, motioning to the black leather mask sitting on his desk. It has a comically long nose and a strange symbol scrawled in yellow on his forehead. So she calls in. My boys and I picked him up on the corner of Saltonstall and Garrison. The sheriff's jaw clenches and his brow furrows as he recounts the story. Fella did nothing but laughed as we slapped the bracelets on him. Called himself Zani. Said nothing except, the carnival is coming, whatever the hell that meant. Wasn't until the next day we found the victim's body. Defense wanted him in a straitjacket. We were happy to oblige. There isn't much time to spare. If your research is right, there's more to this case than meets the eye. This Zani wasn't talking about Dark's carnival, but rather the Carnevale of Venice, which begins just before the next full moon. Carnival has different connotations in different countries, different cities, different places around the world. In Venice, it's a big, colorful, bright celebration where everybody is wearing masks, traditional Venetian masks, which are sort of half masks, very elaborate and ornate, typically with pronounced noses, which goes back to Commedia dell'arte, which was a performance style in Italy and across Europe in the 15th century, 14th, 15th century, maybe later. Roland's been called in by the sheriff because Roland has some international scope as a member of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, especially when threats from abroad are coming into the United States. Roland understands that this man and his mask, it doesn't have to do with something happening here, it has to do with something happening in Venice. So he rushes over to see what he can find out. Agenda 1A. The festivities begin. Last-minute ocean liner tickets from Boston to Italy set you back a fair bit of dough, but after a tense journey, you arrive in Venice. It's okay, the Bureau's gonna pay for that, right, Roland? Roland? The Carnevale has already begun, and the city is in celebration. Colorful confetti rains from above, covering the streets. Many revelers throng in the Piazza San Marco, the square outside the basilica. The parade is to begin shortly. You find the nearest uniformed carabinieri. You find the nearest uniformed carabinieri and show him a copy of the symbol you transcribed from Zani's mask. He pauses to decide your trustworthiness, nods, and escorts you into the basilica to see the Abbess Allegria di Biazzi. Act 1A. The Carnevale Conspiracy. The abbess addresses you privately. So you know what is coming? You nod. Then you know what must be done. They are using the celebration as a sacrifice for their wretched master. Bring as many innocents as you can here, where I will protect them. But beware, the creature's servants will try to blend into the crowd with their false masks. Action. The investigators spend a clue, as a group, look at the other side of a masked carnival goer at any location. So if you get a clue, you can go and see if a masked person is who they say they are, perhaps. Objective. If there are a total of 3 innocent revelers underneath the act or agenda decks, advance. I believe there's only 3 in here. So there's lots to sort of talk about in terms of what's happening in the scenario. I think it's important that we have a look at the map before we do anything else here. We start at the San Marco Basilica. you cannot help but marvel at the basilica's opulence and towering presence. In the piazza outside, revelers dance and celebrate, oblivious to their peril. What's happening? What a conspiracy! What are these cultists trying to do here in Venice? So we start at the San Marco Basilica with the Abbess Allegria di Biazzi, most blessed, the most blessed. We'll come back to her in a quick second. One of the most exciting things about the Arkham Horror LCG, in my opinion, is how every scenario is different. And, you know, the base rules of find clues, defeat monsters, advance the act, don't let the agenda advance, like those are all essentially the same for the most part. Some scenarios really turn that on its head. But it's the creativity in the use of location arrangements and special rules for individual scenarios. Oh, in this scenario, we want to get to as many places as possible. Oh, in this scenario, we want to prevent these people from getting here. Oh, in this scenario, we have to find a hidden thing, you know, etc. I just think that's all very cool. This scenario is no different. Because of the Carnevale processing through Venice, all of the locations are connected in a clockwise direction only. So San Marco Basilica says it's connected in the clockwise direction. So does Accademia Bridge, the streets of Venice, the flooded square, Canal Side, the Bridge of Sighs, the Venetian Garden, and the Rialto Bridge. So they're all connected in a clockwise direction, which just means that for the purposes of this game, you can only go one way. If you need to get back to somewhere that you've already been, you have to go all the way around again. Unless you can find a way of traveling perhaps across Venice or around Venice. Coming back to the Basilica, the Abbess Allegria di Biazzi is an asset that lives here at this location. Free trigger, exhaust her, move from her location to a connecting location, or to her location from a location connected to it. Any investigator may trigger this ability. Boom! Free move! We love it. There are also, you'll notice, masked Carnival goers. Masked Carnevale goers at every location other than the one we started at. Oop, there's one down here. The Act tells us once there are 3 innocent revelers under the Act or Agenda decks advance. The Agenda is typically bad stuff, the Act is typically good stuff, so we'll see what it means to put them underneath the 2. But there are 7 masked Carnevale goers. Now, maybe there are more than 3 innocent revelers in this pileup. I doubt it somehow. Each masked Carnevale goer also says spend a clue, flip. If the other side is an enemy, it attacks each investigator at the location. Which, that's rough. So hopefully we have some sort of way of canceling attacks, Roland. So, in amongst the thronging masses outside the Basilica San Marco, throughout Venice, there are all sorts of people reveling in the streets, shouting, screaming, waving flags, throwing confetti, and in amongst that crowd there are those masked Carnevale goers who are perhaps less than savory, who are perhaps serving a darker purpose here in Venice. We'll have to see how we can try to get the innocent revelers underneath the Act deck when we flip this location. But first, we have to draw our opening hand. A brief note on some of the experience I've spent here, because I think it's worth pointing out before we begin, because it's sort of a combo-y thing. As I mentioned, I've spent 29 experience on this deck, which means there's a lot of extra weaknesses in the deck, but also there's a lot of good stuff. Roland is charismatic, which means he can have a second ally out, which is, you know, makes sense. He also is ready to stick to the plan. Roland, in addition to being able to charm his way onto many different police forces, realizes that he had time to plan before heading into Venice. And so he has access to a few different things that he may need over the course of this investigation. Extra ammunition, an emergency cache of weapons and supplies, and of course he is ever vigilant. Stick to the Plan is an exceptional permanent card. Permanent means it starts in play, exceptional means it costs twice the amount of experience, 6 in this case. Before you draw your opening hand, you get to put 3 different tactic and or supply events on stick to the plan, and then you can play them as if they were in your hand, 1 per turn. So, I mean, fantastic use of experience for Guardians. It's locked to most Guardians rather than most other, investigators, but it does let you pull out some excellent little one-ofs that you only really need one of, but how are you going to find them? Now you have them right away. Stick to the plan. Roland also had an astounding revelation on his way here, which is just a card that says, when you search your deck, discard it to gain 2 resources or place a secret. So we searched our deck before we drew our opening hand, so we already tossed the astounding revelation. Boom. Starting at 7 resources. Feels good. On his way here, Roland had his astounding revelation. Whatever these cultists are serving, whatever they are trying to do, can't possibly be connected to Arkham. If it was, they would have been carrying out their plan there. Instead, it must be something to do with the banks, the canals, the lagoons of Venice, or perhaps the people. There must be power in this location, otherwise why would they have chosen this chaotic event to try to organize something so devious? Alright, it's time. I think I've explained everything on the table already. Let's draw our opening hand. Let's get doomed. Shuffle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's a weakness. I'm going to put that away for now, and I'll redraw. So this is 2 skill cards, 2 events, and a weapon. I like the weapon, but I would rather have things other than any of these events or skills. So I'm going to toss back 4 cards and draw 4 more. Okay. Oh, shoot. I don't want the astounding revelation back in the deck. So we've mulliganed here, and we've got a take the initiative, an agency backup, which is like just an absolutely massive card, and we'll, if we ever end up playing it, I'll talk all about it. 2 45 automatics, he's packing, and a Hawkeye folding camera. Very useful little card as well. Roland is standing in the St. Marco Basilica, talking with the abbess. She's told him they're using the celebration as a sacrifice for their wretched master. Now, of course, he doesn't know what or who that is referring to, but he's sure that he'll be able to interrogate at least a couple of these goons and figure it out. Bring as many innocents as you can here, where I will protect them. The creature's servants will try to blend into the crowd with their false masks. San Marco Basilica is a 3-shroud, 0-clue location, and as an action it says, place an innocent reveler you control underneath the act deck out of play. So you have to bring them back to the Basilica. Blessed and warded by the abbess, the Basilica is about as safe a place as you could find in Venice. But it is not safe enough. Roland is ready to get out onto the streets of Venice. He wishes that he came with some sort of partner, but of course, he's working alone on this case. The Bureau wasn't able to send anyone over with him, but they did say, oh, you'll be able to meet up with a few different contacts we have there at some point. As we've mentioned, Roland is ready for anything. He's got his plan. His plan is to head out into the streets, interrogate as many suspicious-looking people as he can find, maybe try to find some clues. As the Carnevale progresses, perhaps he can find clues left behind. Perhaps he can even talk with some of the constabulary that are posted around. But he knows he's going to need a weapon and some way of processing evidence. So, Ever Vigilant lets me play up to 3 assets, reducing the resource cost of each by 1. So, I'm taking out a gun and a Hawkeye folding camera. The Hawkeye folding camera, by the way, because we've never seen this card before, it says after the last clue is discovered from your location, place evidence on it. While it has 1 or more evidence, you get willpower, 2 or more evidence, intellect, 3 or more evidence, sanity, cumulatively. So, which is great for Roland. So he's got what he needs in order to document what he finds, and of course, in case he runs into trouble, trusty old 45 automatic. So the first action is to play down the 2 weapons. he's ready to go, and of course, because he has to progress with the Carnevale, he can only go in one direction, clockwise. The abbess shepherds him out of the basilica, and as a free trigger, I get to move to Academia Bridge. The long and narrow Ponte dell'Accademia is one of only 4 bridges that span the Grand Canal. Many pairs of yellow eyes gaze at the bridge from the Academy's high windows, seemingly waiting for you to cross. Roland's feet take him to the Academia Bridge to see what he can find there. There's a clue here. It's a 2-shroud location. After you leave Academia Bridge, lose 2 resources. That sucks. So you either get, pickpocketed along the way, or in Roland's case, I suppose he just feels like people are watching him. However, it is a 2-shroud, 1-clue location, so I think we should just try to investigate here. We're a 3-on-2 investigating. Yeah, I say we just go for it. Actually, we should probably take the scenario reference card so we know what we're doing. So, marching over to the Academia Bridge, Roland sees some constabulary posted at either end. He moves over to them to try his luck with his not-so-great Italian to see if he can find out any information. Yeah, you know what? I'll toss it in. He's taking the initiative. I've already completed an action this round, so it only has 2 wild icons, but that still makes me a 5 versus a 2, which feels okay. Because I really want to try to just succeed so I can keep moving on, right? So he's going to investigate by interviewing constabulary posted at the bridge. Not only does the constable look at him and shake his head in a, I definitely don't speak whatever language you're trying to speak, buddy. But the constable also thinks that maybe this American is a drunk tourist. Roland has to fumble around inside his clothes to find his FBI badge, but by the time he pulls it out, the constable's already walked away. He's gonna march across the bridge and see what he can find on the other side. And we'll just investigate again. -1. Okay, that one worked. That was so terrible. On the other side of the bridge, Roland catches 2 masked figures meeting just underneath the bridge. He manages to snap a photo of both of them before one of them takes off, flees into the darkness, into the streets of Venice. The other, looking around, walks slowly away. It looks like the masked figure that's walking away calmly and slowly perhaps handed something off to the other one. Roland knows he has to head to the streets next. That's where he's going to find his answers. By investigating successfully, I cleared this location of its clue, which gave me a piece of evidence on the Hawkeye folding camera. Hurrah! With this clue, I'll be able to flip this masked Carnevale goer, or peek at one, but I think we should just start flipping. So hopefully Roland will be able to get this guy. In the enemy phase, there are no enemies, so nothing happens. In upkeep, I ready my stick to the plan so I can play the other thing next turn. I draw a card and gain a resource. It's evidence! Just as I suspected. And then we move into the mythos phase. We put down our... Oh, and of course we ready the abbess. She's just so tired, She's just so exhausted. So far, Roland's interactions with the law enforcement here in Venice have been less than successful, but at least he's using his own wherewithal to try to get as much information as he can. So at least there's that. Draw an encounter card, and then we'll go back to the investigation phase. What do we got? A Carnevale Sentinel! Spawns at the location across from you. It has Retaliate. You cannot look at the other side of masked Carnevale goers, at its location using the ability on Act 1A. Uninvited guests are not welcome. So it spawns across from me. So across from me here is over here on the Bridge of Sighs. Wow, I love that art. So I can't spend a clue to look at this masked Carnevale goer. I can't peek before I get there. The problem, of course, and the thing I'm realizing now about this scenario, which is going to be so interesting, is when do you peek to know when not to flip, and when do you just continue on and try your luck. For example, if I peek at someone coming up, I'll know whether or not I have to go there. But unless I flip the Carnevale goer at my location, maybe it's one of the innocent revelers I need, and I'll have to come all the way back. You know? It could be really tough. However, the sentinel, as Roland's eyes follow the calm, measured stride of the Carnevale goer, who's walking off away from the one who dashed off into the streets, he notes with some interest that there is what looks to be sort of an old Venetian guard, almost, posted outside a building on the Bridge of Sighs, not too far from where he is. If there is a conspiracy afoot, of course there will be those who were hired to keep it secret and to make sure that those who are coming for them are unable to do so. So it's just there. It's not aloof or anything though, so when I get there I'm gonna have to deal with him, which sucks, but we'll figure it out. And I can't peek at this guy. Okay. However, it's our turn. It's our turn now. Roland's emergency cash here is going to gain me 3 and draw me a card. Oh, practice makes perfect even better. You can never be too prepared. Roland is starting to realize that there are deals and handoffs and guards. There's so much happening. He's keeping an eye on the one that's walking away on the north side of the bank, but he heads back to his car very briefly to call for some backup. He has a feeling he's going to need it. Agency backup is a 7-cost ally with 5 experience, or worth 5 experience, but it has 4 health and 4 sanity. Amazing. You can exhaust it and deal a damage to it to deal a damage to an enemy at your location, or you can deal a horror to it to have it discover a clue for you. So, in other words, agency backup is both a bunch of bodies that you can use to soak up damage so that you can keep investigating, or it's fighting when you need fighting, and it's clues when you need clues. Calling for his agency backup, Roland... should I spend the clue now, though? Probably not, eh? Because what if he hits me and then hits me again? Oh, I really want to know if it's an enemy or not, but I don't have any more clues. I mean, I don't want to take a bunch of damage now, so I think what we're gonna do... Roland doesn't want to waste time, even though it's less than practical. Now that he's called for backup, he's feeling a bit more confident that he's got what he needs. The heels of his shoes clack on the cobblestones, echoing across the somewhat empty homes around him. The Carnevale is not too far away, shouts and cheers, but he's gonna head up, following the calm, measured stride of the goer who just handed something off. Having seen them, he's gonna clap a hand down his shoulder. On this person's shoulder. Excuse me, FBI. Turn around, slowly. Show me your hands. Oh, yes. This is an innocent reveler. Whew. The young woman actually turns around, and he can see the fear in her eyes. Parlay, pest 2. Parlay, test intellect 2 to convince the reveler to follow you to safety. If you succeed, take control. Forced, when it would be discarded, place it underneath the agenda deck. Each investigator takes a horror. So, if the innocent reveler is killed or stolen away or whatever for any reason, we also take a horror as we watch the innocents slowly getting picked off around us. But this is an innocent reveler at our location, so she's taken a few steps back here. Roland's realized that he's made a bit of a mistake. He thought that perhaps this was one of the conspirators, but it turns out it might have just been a regular person, or maybe a regular person in service of the conspiracy somehow. Either way, this seems to be someone who doesn't know what's going on, and the more Roland tries to talk her down from fleeing, the more he realizes that he needs to take her back to the Basilica as quick as he can. That's where we're at. There are no enemies that hunt, so The sentinel is still staring down at Roland, but it doesn't do anything, which is nice. In upkeep, we ready our stick to the plan. Got our extra ammo if we need it. And we draw a card and gain a resource. This is drawing the sign. Drawing the sign says, put it into play in your threat area. Max hand size reduced by 5 when checking your hand size. Ashcan, Pete, and Duke also had this problem. The woman that Roland is talking to starts to haltingly try to speak to him in English, but then slowly it morphs back into Italian as she starts to frantically try to explain to Roland what it is that she was doing there, and she starts frantically pointing down an alleyway. When Roland glances down there, he sees the same sign drawn over and over and over on the wall. It's the same sign from the Zani's mask. It seems to be painted on the wall in blood. That's one of our extra weaknesses. As we go to 2 out of 8 Doom, we're going to draw an encounter card, and we're going to see what it'll bring us here. Watcher's Gaze. Watcher's Gaze. Through the alleyway, staring eyes float back towards Roland, and he sees that it's the same eyes looking down at him from the Academia. Perhaps this conspiracy goes a bit further than he thought. Test Will 4. Each investigator who controls an innocent reveler has to perform the test, that's fine. Each investigator who fails takes a horror, which must be assigned to an innocent reveler first if able. Now, I don't control any revelers, so it'll just go to me. But I have 4 willpower. I want to use this practice makes perfect, but I don't want to use it on this test, so I'm going to leave it for now. This practice makes perfect is going to be great for the next test I want to perform. So we're just going to... It's 1 horror, but I think we're just going to have to take it. I am testing a 4-on-4. Yep, skull is -2. So I fail, and I'll take a horror. Roland shudders as the gaze of the watchers from above and from down the alley just simply vanish. He starts to look all around him. Thankfully, he's got his folding camera for evidence, and he feels the weight of the .45 automatic in his pocket. Roland knows there's more out there than meets the eye. We move back into the investigation phase. The first thing is the first thing. We have to try to get this innocent reveler on our side. So we're going to parlay. Roland is going to use his best halting Italian to try to convince her that he wants to take her to safety. He's going to use his badge to try to indicate what's happening. He's even going to try to be perceptive to maybe see if he can figure out what she's been talking about this whole time. Practice makes perfect is a gambit that lets you search the top 9 cards of your deck for a practiced skill card. So I'm going to do that. So my first action is to parlay. I'm going to test, and I'm looking for a practiced skill card. Is this practiced? Nope. Nope. Uh-oh. We're at 6. That's weaknesses. 7, 8, 9. Perception. Okay. So I'm going to put the rest of the cards back here. I mean, shuffle away a couple weaknesses, I guess. I'm going to take this perception. Practice makes perfect. Roland, he's got, at least 15, 20 years on the force, in the FBI. He's a world-weary old soul, and even though he's seen some things that he can't explain, if there's one thing he knows, it's people. He's using his most soothing tone of voice. He's trying to speak with her in the best Italian that he knows, and he's doing his best to reassure her that there's nothing to be afraid of. He's going to take her back to the Basilica San Marco, he keeps saying. I get to commit this perception, and then if the test is successful, I get to add it to my hand. So I'm going to commit this perception, which gives me 2 intellect icons. So I'm testing at a 5 against 2. Wow. Phew. Okay, so it was successful. So I draw a card from the perception. I also get the perception back. And I get to take control of this innocent reveler, who doesn't take up the ally slot, thankfully. So I've got my agency backup on the way for when I need it. That was all action 1. And I'm gonna have to get rid of some of these cards ASAP. Second action, Roland is heading down the alleyway towards where he saw. He still doesn't quite understand what the handoff that he photographed was about between this innocent woman and the figure he saw dashing off down into the streets, but that's where he needs to head. He needs to find them next. I have to lose 2 resources, but I'm out. So that actually worked out quite well. Second action, move into the streets of Venice. It's a 2-shroud, 2-clue location. Don't know why they didn't populate there, that's okay. It's connected to the location in the clockwise direction. Free trigger move in the clockwise direction. And of course there's a Carnevale goer here. If we can score these 2 clues, you know, even better. So let's do it. Last action, we're going to investigate using this perception again, right? I'm a 5 versus a 2. Elder sign, whoop! It's fine. So I get +2. It's like a big success. As he dashes off, he realizes that he's basically running headlong into the crowd, but Roland's got eagle eyes. He spots the long hooked nose of the mask that he photographed back here on the bridge. He sees them on the other side of the crowd and starts to shove his way through. He's ready to go and interrogate this person. Perception draws me a card. Roland's 38 special, and I get a clue off this location. I can't charge up the Hawkeye yet, but I hope to very soon. In the enemy phase, again, the Sentinel doesn't move, which is okay, thankfully. I'm really excited to get this last clue. Then I'll be able to both get this goer and peek at the next one, so I can have a sense of what's going on here. So far, the playing of this has been going pretty well, I think. It's certainly been interesting, and I feel like the roleplay and storytelling's fallen a little bit by the wayside. Does Roland know what's going on? It's hard to know! So far, we've, crossed the Academia Bridge. We failed to speak to the constabulary, but we snapped a photo of a deal. The deal became an innocent reveler who we were able to get on our side here quite well. And now we're into the streets where we are trying to hunt down that other person. In upkeep, we flip these tokens back over to remind myself. We draw a card and gain a resource. Alex Luxley, the Fearless Flatfoot. That's a detective. A police woman. Fantastic. I hope I get to play her. That said, because of the drawing the sign, I have to discard down to 3. I'm gonna lose the scene of the crime. Oh, and I want to lose the evidence, but let's be real. Am I ever gonna play any of these other things? This is tough. Roland's obsession with uncovering what the sign means, why it's being drawn everywhere in blood, what relation it has to the, sinister plans that are afoot here. He needs to know. I can't get rid of my guns. Well, I could get rid of my guns, actually, because I have extra ammo, which is essentially 3 ammo of the 45, so I'm going to drop that. Okay, mythos phase. We're still on track. 3 out of 8 doom. And we're going to draw an encounter card, which is, it's the Watcher's Gaze again. We're going to test willpower 4. The horror has to go to the innocent reveler if I fail, which I'm probably going to fail. And I don't really feel like committing anything or whatever, so alright, I can't. So let's just test it. We're 4 on 4. That's a skull. It's a -2, so yeah, the horror goes on the innocent reveler. The woman following Roland trips briefly, and an arm catches her in the crowd. She manages to yank her arm away, but the steely gaze behind the mask tells her that someone is coming for her, and she rushes after the fearless detective, whom she hopes will be able to protect her for long enough. I don't want to lose my innocent reveler here. In the investigation phase, okay, so there's a bunch of things I can do here. I could investigate to clear this location. I could grab this clue for free and then flip the Carnevale goer and then kind of see where we're going from there. If I get the clue for free with the agency backup, I won't then be able to use the agency backup to deal damage. But I think that's okay, because my evidence doesn't do anything for me here, but I could use it to just commit for the icons, save my backup. Let's do it. So we're gonna, whoops. So first action, Roland is pushing through the crowd. He's gonna see if he can reclaim any evidence of the person who's ducked into a side alleyway. Maybe he can even catch them before they're gone. Or do I want to spend the clue to peek? No, I don't want to do that. So we're investigating. I have 3 intellect, 5 with the evidence. -2, that's good. The camera charges up because I'm pulling the last clue off this location. Okay. If this is an enemy, it's going to attack me. But I think we need to do it. Roland manages to catch sight of a fluttering cloak as it disappears around a corner, and he picks up his pace, kind of almost leaping off the wall to turn the corner even faster. I'm spending a clue to flip this Carnevale goer. It is an enemy, so it attacks me. Ooh! Horror! Oh no, it's Salvatore Neri, the Master of Illusion! As Roland turns the... Is that what it says, by the way? Yeah, it attacks. So, just straight up. Ooh, that's... I'm gonna put 1 on me and 1 on the agency. Oh boy. Okay. As he turns the corner, the Carnevale goer that he's been chasing looks up at the dead end in front of him, piled high with trash, scraps of metal, turns around. He removes his mask, and then he removes the mask beneath his mask. Gouts of flame leap from his face, and Roland realizes this is no ordinary reveler. This must be a member of the cult that's afoot. This person's face seems to melt and shift like mercury as he grins wildly at Roland. Salvatore Neri's fight is equal to the attacking investigator's base combat, and his evade is equal to the investigator's base evade. So, what I'm hoping to do is just, like, strike him dead right now. If the backup is just around the corner, we can maybe just take him out immediately. I get +2 combat, it deals +1 damage, and I ignore the retaliate keyword, which he has. He's gonna fight back against me. Seeing this man's face shifting, melting, reforming, and writhing is pretty much more than Roland can take, but as the man threatens to move forward, Roland whips out his .45 automatic, Weaver stance, bang, and fires at him. This guy has a combat of 4 because I have a base of 4, but I'm fighting at a 6 and dealing +1 damage. Skull, -2. Okay, whew. So that's a success. I'll put 2 damage on him, and then I'm gonna agency backup is going to I'm gonna deal a damage to the agency backup to deal a damage to an enemy at my location, which is this guy. So he goes in the victory display. As Roland rounds the corner, this man removes his mask, and then the mask beneath his mask, gouts of flame leaping out from his face as his facial features shift and change. The man grins and begins to laugh maniacally. Roland pulls out his .45, blam, right into his midsection. As the other members of the agency round the corner, they leap onto Salvatore Neri, cuff him, and start dragging him back for questioning. He's out of commission. Good work, folks, Roland Banks says as they drag him away. So we could free trigger to move from the streets of Venice. So we're gonna free trigger to move. Roland is heading off the streets into the flooded square. As the rising tide of the Acqua Alta floods the square, you trudge through numbingly cold water. The parade continues across a makeshift wooden bridge that spans the square, too narrow for your comfort. I'm not familiar with this location in Venice, but I can only imagine it's like a little square of sort of, you know, houses or shops or whatever. And in the middle of it is almost a small pool that floods from time to time. Now that they've taken one member of the cult into custody, or at least some wild person with magic powers, Roland is back on the trail, seeing if he can find other innocent revelers to try to save here. Flooded Square is a 4 shroud, 1 clue location. And it says automatically evade a non-elite enemy at the location in the counterclockwise direction once per turn. So you can sort of keep someone off your tail a little bit from this location, which is cool. And there's someone here. We don't know who it is yet. Okay. Whew, that was a big turn. We managed to do a lot. Again, in the enemy phase, there is a sentinel, but it doesn't hunt or anything, so it's just going to wait for us to approach. We'll ready our agency back up, and we'll draw on a card and gain a resource. That's another evidence. That's good. So I realize as well, this isn't a misplay or anything, but I took a clue before flipping the person over at this location. If I had done it the other way, I could have used Roland's reaction ability to discover this clue for free, rather than have to try to investigate for it. It is what it is. But we've got 1 innocent reveler and 1 person out beneath the act deck, so that's okay. Mythos phase, we draw an encounter card. Lost in Venice? Oh, you must either take 2 horror or move to the location across from you. Oh no. How'd you end up here? I can't take 2 horror. I just straight up, I can't do it. So, I mean, although we haven't seen too many locations yet, so we'll move to the location across from me. This is the Rialto Bridge. What the hell? Another bridge. Roland's looking around. He was like, I was just in the square. He thought the square would lead back. He thought it would lead on towards Canal Side, but he's ended up at a different bridge here. The Ponte di Rialto is the oldest bridge spanning the Grand Canal. It has endured for centuries, but even its stone may crumble should you fail. Yikes. This is a 2 shroud, 1 clue location. It says after you leave Rialto Bridge, lose an action. Okay. And it's connected in the clockwise direction. So we need to sort of like keep heading back around to the Basilica from here. Although, you know, Roland can see the Basilica nearer by, closer by than he thought, so maybe he should bring the innocent reveler there before she bites it, you know? Lose an action. Okay. We're back into the investigation phase. Roland's got, you know, a ton of stuff going for him here, which is okay. I have a intellect of 4, so I could try to get this clue. I could also theoretically look a clue. I could try to peek at this goer and determine whether I need to do anything here. I could also peek at the Carnevale goer down here to see if I want to try to get them on the way back, which I don't think I do actually. So the information he found on the streets of Venice, the agency folks who managed to cuff Salvatore Neri radio him, and he's able to pick up a little bit of a garbled message here. Information about who he was on his way to meet in the flooded square. So we're just going to take a quick look. Okay, so this is Don Lagorio, secret servant. Hunter. He can hunt in both directions. We're peeking, we're not looking at this guy. But he's a 4/4/3. So we know that someone by the name of Don Lagorio is here at the flooded square. Roland knows that's not where he should be going. Okay. We should try to get this clue. Maybe even look at this goer before we leave. I spent a clue to look at Lagorio, who I don't want to have to encounter. Second action, I'm going to try to get the clue from this location. I have 4 intellect now because of the Hawkeye. Managed to snap another photo of the Salvatore as he ran away around the corner. Let's try it 4 on 2. Elder Sign! Hey, ho, hey. So we're gonna take the clue, charge up the folding camera again, which gives me +1 sanity, which is really nice because I definitely need that. Now, if I spend a clue to flip this person, they might be an enemy that will then attack me twice. So I think instead, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna free trigger to move out of here. So, oh, we're gonna lose an action anyway. Ah! Do we have an action left? We have an action. We have an action and we have to spend it before we leave here. Right? So I could play my extra ammo. I want to get Alice Luxley down. That's what I want to do. Take a resource? Yeah. Take a resource. Last action. So, oh, and then move. Yeah, of course. And then move using the abyss because we can move to her location from a location connected. We lose an action, but we have no actions left to lose. That's okay. We're back in the Basilica. Oh, in the relative safety of the Basilica. So, again, from this new bridge, you know, he got lost on his way to Canal Side, where he thinks he kind of needs to end up going. But here on the Rialto Bridge, at least he was able to snap another photo of what seems to be a couple of different masked goers breaking off from the crowd and heading into a darkened doorway. He's not quite sure where that goes, but he's got a good sense that that's who he needs to pursue. But, of course, to serve and protect, right? That's the key. He knows he needs to uncover the mystery of what's happening here in Venice, but he also needs to save as many people as he can. The woman he picked up just next to Accademia Bridge was some sort of unwitting participant, which is confirmed by the Abbess Allegria di Biazzi. Unwitting participant in what the cult was trying to accomplish. So he's hoping that by leaving her here at the Basilica, that she'll be safe. So last free trigger was to move into this location. I know it's a little nitpicky, but I wanted to make sure that I had a free trigger window after my last action, but before the enemy phase to move into, well, I guess actually doesn't really matter. I'll just move in the enemy phase instead. But I do, so we're good. The way it's phrased in the rulebook is like a little particular, and as someone who is a relative neophyte to Arkham Horror, the card game, I just had to make sure I knew what I was doing. We are doomed here, after all. This is not called Defeat Arkham Horror at any and all costs. We've got our clue, we've charged up our Hawkeye, we've still got a gun with lots of bullets in it, and we're about to deliver one of the innocent revelers. Which is good. End of the enemy phase. End of the investigation phase. In the enemy phase, there's only one enemy, but again, it's the Carnevale Sentinel who does not want. I mean, we didn't have to deal with him on the way, so that's okay. Maybe we'll find a way of getting around him. Upkeep, we ready everything we used. I guess that's the Abbess. Whoop. In upkeep, we ready everything we used, and we draw a card and gain a resource. It's overpower! Die, you beast! It's Silas Marsh in the art. Isn't it? I think, hey? The sailor? Probably. It's a neutral skill from the core set, but it's got those 2 combat icons. You know we like those. And now we can put down Alice Luxley, which will be great. +1 book. Okay. Oh, however, of course, now it's time. Now we have to draw the sign. So I'll drop this. That's a good question. I guess we drop the evidence. Keep the overpower. I honestly might end up discarding the sign too, just trying to get out of here. So 5 out of 8 doom, and we draw an encounter card. Nothing that will kill the Lost in Venice. Oh no! Move, take 2 horror, or move to the location across from you. Ah! Okay. Well, again, it's not the worst. I didn't want to go back to the flooded square, and this saves me a lot of moves. I'd rather not lose the innocent reveler, but it's very strange. Roland was just talking to the abbess, and he was pretty sure he was inside the basilica, but maybe he was outside, because as soon as he turns around, he finds himself on the banks of the canal leading out into the bay, the lagoon around Venice. Canals course through the city's many islands, lined with gondole, traghetti, and other boats. The redolence of the festival clashes with the pungent odor of the water. Here the music of the Carnevale is faded, replaced by the sound of gentle sloshing against the docks and canal walls. 2 shroud, 1 clue. After you enter it, place a clue on canal side from the token bank. So that's an additional clue, I imagine. Great. Okay, so every time you come back here, there's more and more clues, which is, I mean, that's not bad. Okay, so I won't be going back. I won't be going back to Venice. I won't be going back to the Basilica just yet, which is just too bad. But that's okay. There's clues here. We can maybe peek. We can maybe continue on. We can do what we need to do. That's okay. In the investigation phase, again, Roland doesn't quite know how he got here, but at least the woman is still with him, also looking a bit shocked and dazed. Coming around the corner is none other than one of the people apparently assigned as backup for Roland. She's not technically a member of the agency, but Alice Luxley, the fearless Flatfoot, is a police woman and detective, and one of Roland's oldest friends. You get +1 intellect. After you discover a clue, exhaust her to deal damage. So it's kind of the opposite of Roland, right? Roland says after you defeat an enemy, discover a clue. She says when you discover a clue, deal a damage. So if you end up with lots of enemies, you can kind of ping them back and forth a little bit. And so coming around the corner, none other than Alice Luxley, who smiles broadly and then returns to her usual kind of severe face, nods at Roland. He nods back, and they're ready to do what needs to be done. He confers with Alice about the sign he's seen painted around. She pulls out her notebook, draws it briefly, turns it towards him, and then starts to explain what she's learned about the sign as well. I'm gonna spend 2 actions to discard it because I want to not just keep throwing away cards that are in my hand. It's a bit of a waste, but at least like we're here now, right? Maybe we'll move back to the Basilica. I don't know. Enemy phase again, nothing happens. In an upkeep, we draw a card and gain a resource. But now I no longer have drawing the sign. It's a crack the case! After an investigator discovers the last remaining clue at your location, you gain a total of X resources. So, this is kind of a money-making card, which we don't really need right now, but we're getting low on resources. I want to make sure I can keep playing stuff as we go. I've, like, drawn through so much deck. That was a bit of a bland turn. Somehow we got lost, ended up canal side, but we found Alice Luxley and managed to get rid of our Roland through speaking with someone as level-headed as himself, through the photos he's been taking, things he's been documenting. He's starting to realize the sign it doesn't have any special power. It's something the cultists or the conspiracy members are using to contact each other, but it's meant to inspire fear. Thankfully, it's not actually something to be afraid of. He knows. 6 out of 8 doom. We draw another encounter card right here. Boom, what do we got? What do we got? Oh, the Pullman. Uh-oh, spawns at canal side. Prey, most innocent revelers control. That's me! Whoops. Hunter. Dark waters hold dark secrets. Oh, dark waters hold darker secrets. The smell that Roland thought he smelt. The smell that is coming off of the water, Roland kind of chalks it up to just kind of, it's the fact that it's lagoon water that's floating in here. It's probably got some refuse from the city in it. The din of the Carnevale is quite far away now. Alice's eyes go wide as she motions back towards behind Roland. He draws his gun and turns around, coming out of the water, holding an oar. A creature that might have once been human, but is now some sort of fish-human hybrid with large jaws. It looks almost like one of those horrible deep sea fish, see-through giant teeth, glowing eyes, and it's coming for them. I suppose we could try to evade it. No. So, if we defeat it, we gain a clue. If we gain a clue, we can also, like, do a damage and stuff. If we investigate, discover a clue, we can deal a damage, and then fight. I don't know, that just seems, like, really very confusing. Roland and Alice are sitting here. The innocent reveler has shrunken back against the wall. What is this fish man beast coming out of the waters? It's moving towards them. Roland knows what he has to do. He has to figure out why it's here and kill it before doing so. This is a bit of a weird long stretch here we're going to try to take. We're going to try to do enough damage to then kill it with a whole bunch of free triggers. That's the hope. First action, we're going to shoot it. Bang. Roland's drawn his 45. He's going to just fire a bullet at it. That's a 6 on 4. 0, good, that's 2 damage. The bullet catches the beast square in the shoulder, and it kind of screams and picks at it, but it's still crawling, oozing, sludging its way towards him. He looks at Alice and nods, and the two of them leap onto the beast to try to contain it. Even though it's not human, he knows that it's very useful for the agency to have any sort of information about beasts like this one for the future, you know. So we're going to try to overpower it. I'm committing overpower to be, again, a 6 on 4 for this attack, which is not using a bullet. Elder Sign, even better. Huge overpower. The two of them leap. The Pullman, the beast, doesn't know what to do. It's got spines on its arms, but they don't seem to be doing anything. Here we get to draw a card. Pathfinder, even better. It does a damage. Put it on here. I'm going to use agency backup to discover a clue at my location. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to use the agency backup to discover a clue. When I discover a clue, I'm going to exhaust Alice to do a damage. When I defeat this thing, I'm going to discover a clue. And then am I going to crack the case for 2? I might save it for a slightly better location. 2, 3, 2, 2. Yeah, these are probably 3s and 4s. Yeah, I'm going to save the crack the case. So what happened here? What happened here? That was a lot of triggers all at once, but just mechanically I'll review, and then lore-wise I'll review. Roland took a shot, hit the beast in the shoulder, and it went down. He and Alice leapt on it. Huge overpower, managed to hold it down as the rest of the agency rushed in to contain it and take it away. Mechanically speaking, I used the agency to discover a clue, free trigger. When I discover a clue, I can exhaust Alice to deal a damage, which kills the Pullman, which then I can use my reaction ability to discover a clue at my location. So 2 actions to deal 3 damage, but also discover 2 clues and deal a 4th damage and defeat the enemy. Boom. As the agency goons drag the beast away, it's mostly unconscious and it's oozing black blood from the wound on its shoulder. Roland and Alice get to work combing the scene for clues. The beast clearly came out of the water, but it was holding a gondola pole. So how is it that it got a hold of that? Perhaps was it a human that transformed recently, or has it always looked like this? Combing the scene for clues, they find evidence of a scuffle here of late. Some blood spilled from an altercation. They find the sign, again, scrawled on one of the cobblestones. A meeting was due to take place here. They find a few scraps of paper left behind from a transfer. That happened as well. All of this evidence is leading them in the direction of understanding that this conspiracy is perhaps more wide-reaching than they thought, but it's certainly not more advanced than they thought. These are still just people who have been meeting to try to organize something that must happen on this night. He and Alice still don't know what that is, but whatever it is, it must involve these beasts that are now being summoned from the lagoon. They both look towards the murky, stinky waters. Alice wonders aloud if there's maybe more of those creatures down there as they back away. We now have a bunch of clues. I can spend a clue to look at the another side of a masked Carnevale goer. If I spend it to look at the one on this side here, and it is an innocent reveler, I'll then have to spend another clue anyway. So I think what I want to do is actually look at the one on Rialto Bridge, or maybe in the Venetian garden. Going to the Sentinel is going to be super rough. We're going to have to fight the Sentinel as well, which sucks, but, you know, there you have it. We're going to spend a clue to look at someone, because we're looking for the other innocent revelers, right, on our way. What about at the bridge? Whoa, that's not an innocent reveler. This is Elisabetta Magro, High Servant of the Order, Humanoid Lodge, Elite, Aloof. Damn it! When you look at Elisabetta Magro using the ability on Act 1A, flip her to this side so she's out. When the mythos phase ends, place a doom on her. Damn it. Oh, man. Okay, well, it is what it is. Uncovering more and more clues on the torn scraps of paper and whispers that Alice has heard, and the agency tell them a bit more as well. The small gondola that they found the creature in bears a name, Magro. And that leads them straight back to Elisabetta Magro. But of course, unbeknownst to them, Elisabetta Magro wants to be found. She knows that she is too. She knows that her discovery will herald the arrival of her master, whoever or whatever that is. Okay, well, that's really too bad. I guess I didn't know that was a thing. In the enemy phase, the Sentinel doesn't go anywhere. Elisabetta doesn't go anywhere. Oh, that's so frustrating. I didn't know it was a thing. It's fine. I'm gonna get you, Magro. I'm gonna get you. In upkeep, we ready our backup. We ready Alice Lexley. We draw a card and gain a resource. And we hope we don't lose a vicious blow. Ooh, we hope that we don't lose our reveler to anything in the mythos phase. Oh no. Okay. When the mythos phase ends, place a doom. Oh, that's actually okay because, okay, so quick rules note here. As I've mentioned in other episodes of Doomed, and if you've played before, you know this, so you can skip over the next sort of, 30 seconds. In the mythos phase, you place a doom, check to see if all of the doom in play totals or exceeds the doom threshold of the agenda, and then you advance, then you draw an encounter card, and then the mythos phase ends. We're now at 7 of 8 doom. At the end of the mythos phase, Magro says place a doom on her. Next turn, regardless of whether we've removed the doom from her or not, we would be advancing anyway. I think they call this the witching hour, right? It's the hour right before we advance. So in fact, for now, her ability, at least for now, her ability doesn't do anything. It's me wiping sweat off my brow in case that wasn't clear. So place a doom, 7 doom, draw an encounter card. What's going to get us here at Canal Side this time? It's Acrid Miasma. Attached to the nearest location in the clockwise direction with no acrid miasma. Okay, so the Carnevale Sentinel starts to choke and cough as miasma, as this fog, green and blue and thick, sweeps up around them. After an investigator enters the location, test Will 2. If failed, take a damage and a horror, or resolve the Hunter keyword on each enemy in play. Okay. There's no hunters right now, so not right. We're just gonna do that, I think. That's it. Into the investigation phase. Yeah, I'm thinking, okay, yeah, perfect. Roland sees this miasma, this fog coming up around the Bridge of Sighs, With a pang of discomfort, you imagine how disheartening the view would be from inside the enclosed bridge, looking out of its cramped windows. He doesn't actually, before we even go on, I don't know if the goer at my location is an innocent reveler. Let's have a quick look. We know that this one and this one are enemies, and there's, I think, 2 revelers left out of 3, so actually, odds are pretty good. Let's just flip it. Let's just do it. Before we move, we're spending a clue to flip this Carnevale goer. Ha! Nope, it attacks me. 1 damage and 1 horror. I put the damage on me. I put the damage and the horror on Luxley. This is Savio Corvi, humanoid cultist elite hunter. Son of a... While resolving the hunter keyword, his location is connected to the location across from him as well as in the clockwise direction. This lurker comes out of nowhere. As they are investigating the boat, as they discover the name Magra, which is leading them ever closer to the truth. Alice screams out in pain. Roland whirls around and sees that she's tussling with a masked, dark-haired figure. He's jammed some sort of long needle into her neck, and she's screaming as she's flailing around. Oh boy. A 3-5-3. Well, shoot, man. I guess we're killing this guy. Here we go. I guess we're killing this guy. I can't even crack the case. Oh no. It's fine. The 45 automatic, let's fight. And let's use the vicious blow. Boom. So we are fighting at a 6-7 on 3 because of the vicious blow. Roland is rushing in to try to save Alice, his fearless flatfoot companion, friend. It should have been friend. Fearless flatfoot friend, as he takes a wild, brutal shot into the midsection of this dark lurker, Savio Corvi. I'm fighting at a 7. That's something to be said about this game. Sometimes, you know, you're testing so far over the threshold, like, oh, only the tentacle can stop me now. Specifically, rogues are sort of a high-risk, high-reward class. You commit a ton of cards. You're like, okay, if I succeed by 2, I'm gonna, like, do this, I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna get an extra action, I'm gonna, like, do extra damage, and then you draw a tentacle. Savio Corvi waves his arm, and Roland's gun falls to the ground. Not in pieces, but somehow he just loses his grasp on it. A dark cloud swirls around Corvi, and Roland doesn't know what to do. So first action was to check this guy, and he was an enemy. Second action was to attack. Third action is gonna be to attack again, and we can hopefully, like, I don't know what. I guess we could try evading as well, but then he's just gonna attack us again. So we're gonna attack. Last action with the 45. I'm fighting at a 6 this time. -3. So 6 minus 3 is 3. That's good. And I succeeded. So putting 2 damage on Savio Corvi. Roland manages to drop down to the ground, prone, grab the gun, and fire up into Savio's gut. It penetrates the swirling black cloud, but the monster behind it only draws his lips tighter as he sinks the dagger ever deeper into Alice's neck. Do I want to... Yep, do I want to do a damage? Yes, I do. I'm going to put a damage on the backup, agency backup, to put another damage on Savio. Because hopefully I'll be able to... I don't know, man. Hopefully I'll be able to kill him next turn, I guess, or something. Jeez Louise. In the enemy phase... Savio is still holding Alice. I can do a damage and a horror to her, but I won't. I'll do a damage to me and a horror to the backup. Well, I could also put a damage. Whoa. I could also put a damage on the innocent reveler. I mean, let's do that. And then I'll put a horror on the backup. It's the horror that's obvious. Oh no, I have an extra sanity now, so I'll put the horror on me. So now I'm at 3 out of 6. Corvi somehow floats up into the air and swoops down at Roland, who rolls out of the way. He's got his gun, but click, click, out of bullets. Upkeep. We flip these cards. We ready the backup, who's hopefully ready to give us a helping hand here. Nothing else to ready, so we're gonna just draw a card. Oh, I should have put a doom on Elisabetta. Totally forgot. Draw a card and gain a resource. I've had worse. Oh, that's great news. That's great news. Mythos phase. So now we go to 8, 9 doom, and then we remove all doom in play, which is just what the rules are, and we advance. Then we're gonna draw an encounter card. Uh-oh. Sometimes on the back of agendas, it doesn't say what to do. It just shows you something horrible. Oh. This is the Baleful Reveler, spreading chaos, an elite. Spawns at the nearest location with no investigators, counterclockwise from the lead investigator. It has Hunter and Retaliate. Counterclockwise. Right, so it's right behind me. After Baleful Reveler moves from the Hunter keyword, reveal a random token. If you reveal a bad stuff token, it hunts again once per round. 4, 5, 3. We are gonna have to, like, get out of this guy's way or fight it, like, now. ASAP. ASAP, as they say. If I can get the Pathfinder down, I can start just zipping around, maybe. Oh, boy. Okay. That's like, real scary. So the Mythos phase advanced the agenda, and we got this huge beast that's now on our tail. But now we also draw an encounter card. Here it comes. It's Mesmerize. Oh! Savio Corvi! The black smoke around him begins to shift and glow this dark purple color as his eyes alight with flames. The same flames from Salvatore Neri's face alight his eyes. Some sort of dark power. If there are no masked Carnevale goers at your location, it gains Surge. Oh. Okay, well there are none because I flipped him. So, never mind. Gains Surge. Okay, but his eyes still continue to glow because that's awesome. A writhing appendage. Ah! This is a 2/2/4 out of the waters. It's not another poleman, it's not another fish beast. It's like straight up a tentacle curling around, crushing a wooden boat. It reaches out. It's coming for us. It's got Retaliate. It says after it attacks you, discard a random card from your hand. When it is defeated, if Nidathqua is in play, deal a damage to Nidathqua. I just need to kill it. Oh, this is so bad. Okay. Okay, well that's a, you know, I had a good investigate phase a few phases ago. Mythos phase gets a good Mythos phase every once in a while. I'm not mad about that. I'm a little mad about it. Oh no. No, I need a win. I need a win on Doomed! Okay. First action. First action, we're going to exhaust Stick to the Plan to play extra ammunition. So Roland is going to reload his 45. Yeah. So first action is to reload the 45. Now, this provokes attacks of opportunity, so I take a damage from the Writhing Appendage. I would take a damage in a Horror, but I've had worse. I'm canceling it and gaining that many resources. As Roland ducks behind a crate, a tendril of smoke shoots out, wraps around his ankle. He shakes it off. The cold, you know, seeps into his core, but he just grits his teeth. He's ready. He's got his extra bullets, and he's ready to finish off Savio. So that was the first action. And I got lots of money now. Because what I want to do is kill Corvi, run, and then just keep running, so that we get away from the Baleful Reveler. Because he deals 2 and 2. I need to get away from him. That's just way too much horror. We're gonna shoot this. We're gonna shoot Corvi. We're taking out Corvi. Here it comes. That's what we're doing. We're taking out Corvi. I don't have any clues to discover to trigger Alice, unfortunately. But I can do some backup to deal a damage. Doesn't really help here. So, we are going to just fight. I'm fighting at a 6 on a 3. So, Roland's reloaded his gun. The tendril of smoke retreats, and he hears Alice screaming again as he stands up, aims carefully, and puts a bullet right in the middle of Corvy's skull. Yep. Oh, just though. Okay. Dead. The smoke dissipates almost instantly as Savio Corvi, the Dark Lurker, lies on the ground, blood leaking from his skull. I killed an enemy so I could discover a clue at my location. There are none. I could have pulled them both, I guess, but I can't really be bothered to do that right now. So we're going to try to get away from the... I could play the Pathfinder and then move it, but then I'm taking 2 attacks of opportunity. So we're just gonna go. This seems wild. I'm moving into a location with an enemy, but I'm trying to move away from a location with an enemy, actually, is what I'm trying to do. So we're gonna move out of Canal Side. Because I'm not attacking or evading, or parlaying or resigning, I have to take a damage from the Writhing Appendage, which is splashing out of the water and extending seemingly forever as I move to the Bridge of Sighs. Bridge of Sighs has an acrid miasma. I'll reveal the Bridge of Sighs first. So 1 shroud, 2 clue location. 1 shroud. Oh man, after you leave the Bridge of Sighs, take a horror. Ah. Sorry, Luxley. I think we're gonna lose you soon. Acrid miasma. Test will 2. I will. Haha. I have 4 willpower. Skull -2. Success. Miasma does nothing. That's okay. Oh, jeez. I wouldn't want to do that. Then the Sentinel engages me. Enemy phase. Hunters hunt before enemies hit. So the Baleful Reveler moves. He hunts. And then we're revealing a random token to see if he hunts again. It's the Elder Sign, which is not a bad stuff token. It's a good stuff token. So he does not hunt again. Doof. Then the enemies hit us. We're going to take 2 damage from the Sentinel that's been standing there all game. It just rushes up and starts battering Roland. It's got some sort of long pike. And it's like clonking Roland over the head with. And the Writhing Appendage does a damage as well. I'm going to put that also on me. Now I'm down to 3 health, 3 sanity remaining. Then it's upkeep. We're going to have to kill everybody this turn. Kill everyone. Upkeep draws us a card and gains us a resource. It's the other Pathfinder. Wish I had those earlier. I feel like that'd be way more useful. Mythos phase. Oh, I didn't even read... Oh man, I didn't even read Shadow of the Eclipse. Sorry, folks. The clamor and celebration of the Carnevale has for the most part drowned out the terrors you've seen into the city until now. The sun vanishes behind the moon, and darkness overtakes the sky. There is a solitary cry and the sound of crashing water. Within moments, screams erupt throughout the city. And yet somehow you see revelers still celebrating with wide, crazed smiles. It's 1 doom out of 3, as we draw an encounter card, which is again a monster, another Writhing Appendage. Okay, so now we're stuck. There's a ton of just like beasts coming out of the water everywhere. I don't know what Nidathqua is, but I can only imagine it is the thing that owns these tentacles. And we have a hunter straight on our tail. Super bad news. Super bad news. If I discover a clue, I can deal a damage. If I defeat an enemy, I can discover a clue and then deal a damage. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, that's the Mythos phase. We're into the investigation phase again. Now, we have a ton of allies that can soak hits for us, but we are here and we're ready to fight. I need to kill these appendages. I mean, ideally, Nidathqua would be able to do something. Killing these appendages will damage Nidathqua, but we don't know what that is, so... Yeah, so... So that's it. we're just gonna try to kill some folks, I guess. Yeah. First action, Roland is firing square into one of the appendages, one of the tentacles that's reaching out towards him. I'm fighting at a 6 on a 2. Elder Sign, huge. So it's dead. Oh, after it attacks you, discard a random card. I forgot about that. So that was in the enemy phase. I had to discard a random card. So I just have to remember that because it has retaliate that I might need to do that again. So it's defeated. Nidathqua isn't in play, so I can't deal a damage. Because I defeated an enemy, I'm going to gain a clue from my location, which lets me trigger Alice, who says, deal a damage. I'm also going to free trigger Agency Backup, put a damage to kill this writhing appendage. In other words, while Roland is facing down one of these tentacles, the rest of the FBI are also facing down another. Absolutely horrible. So first action was to fire and to deal with both things. Again, I really want to get ahead of this horrible creature that's right behind me. I could take the Sentinel with me, take some damage, go with it, and then try to kill it at the next location. Because then we're not going to be able to get the Carnevale goer at this location. I'll tell everybody what I'm thinking. I've used up a lot of my welcome. A lot of my allies are already hurting from the tentacles, from the elite, cultists that we've had to face off against and kill too. Oh, of course, I should have put a doom on Elisabetta. That's my mistake. I always forget. I even forgot she existed. I really want to get this innocent reveler back to the Basilica if I can, and I want to stay ahead of the thing that does a ton of damage. Unfortunately, I'm sitting here engaged with a 3 evade enemy. Oh, well, that's an idea, isn't it? If I evade, I can move. That'll be my 2 actions, so I can't evade. I could evade, put down the Pathfinder, and move for free, which is maybe what I should do. And then I'll have it, and then I can kind of keep using it to run around. Seeing these horrible tentacles coming out of the water, Roland knows that the city is under attack from something, and the Sentinel is trying to drag the Reveler off. Roland needs to get her back to the Basilica ASAP. He doesn't know who she is or why the cult seems to have such an interest with her, but clearly something is happening. So we're going to evade instead of doing anything else, and unfortunately we'll have to come back here, but it is what it is. So we are going to commit my 38 special for 2 evade icons, an evade and a wild, and we're also gonna commit Pathfinder. I don't want to do that. I want to play it so I can move. But I can't just test it 1 up. That's crazy talk. If I don't succeed at evading, I'm gonna just be stuck here anyway, so I have to succeed, so I have to commit the Pathfinder. Second action, he's gonna grab the Reveler, whose name he can't even get out of her. He can't even figure out her name, and try to dash away. I'm testing evade 5 on 3. Skull -2, because there's nothing underneath the agenda deck. Evaded. And then last action, we're just gonna run. Like, honestly, this is Crazy Town, but we're doing it anyway. Ah, yes, and of course, when you leave the Bridge of Sighs, take a horror. A classic! I'm putting it on the Agency Backup. Okay. We're all out of bubblegum, folks. This is what's separating the men from the boys, the girls from the women, the people from younger versions of people. The Baleful Reveler hunts. I'm just going to be honest with you. I'm not 100% sure what or who this is. This seems to be maybe some sort of squid creature that's wearing a mask to appear human. And then I have to reveal a random chaos token. Cultist is bad stuff, isn't it? Yeah. The cultist token means that he hunts again into our location. And then he attacks. He's gonna do 2 damage and 2 horror. So 1 and 1, killing Luxley right away. And then the other 1 and 1 just go on the agency. I mean, how the hell am I gonna fight him otherwise? I can't, maybe I can't take 1 and 1 go on the innocent reveler, I take a horror, and then 1 and 1 go on me? That's worse. Oh, I didn't even reveal my location. I probably should reveal my location. This is the Venetian garden. Oh, it's connected to the location in the clockwise direction. Spend 2 resources to heal 2 horror! Hooray! Discover a clue. Use Alice to deal a damage. I still need to do 4 damage. So here are my options. I can either, what does he have, 3 evade? 3 evade, I mean, I suppose it's possible I could evade him. This creature is a beef city. 5 health means that I can put 1 damage on them from the agency backup if I have it. But then I need to do 4 more damage. I only have 1 bullet left. My options are heal the reveler and take a horror, which then doesn't really soak for me. Lose Alice and take a damage and a horror. Yeah. That's the price you pay, Luxley. Take a damage and a horror. A creature floats into the garden with them. Roland points his 45. Stay where you are. Stay where you are. I will shoot. It simply floats over to Alice and consumes her. She just disappears into the mist. Oh my god. Oh my god. Luxley! Upkeep phase, we ready all of our shit. We also ready this Sentinel, who's not a hunter, so, you know, draw a card and gain a resource. Vicious Blow. Actually? Okay. Mythos phase. Oh boy. Okay, so Mythos phase takes us to 3 doom. 2 on the thing and 1 on Elisabetta. So again, we lose the doom and we flip the agenda. The shadow of the eclipse is unrelenting. Throughout the city. Oh, this is agenda 2B. A sacrifice to be made. A dull chant overtakes the screaming and the chaos. Its language ancient and morbid. Tentacles course through the canals from the south, weaving beneath bridges and trapping entire islands within their grasp. If there are 1 or more masked Carnevale goers in play, the lead investigator chooses one, flips it to its other side. If it's an innocent reveler, it goes beneath the agenda. If there's still a Carnevale goer in play, flip it back, otherwise advance. So, whatever creature is assaulting the city is here. I'm just gonna say it's the one back here. I'm gonna flip it. It's an innocent reveler, yeah. When it would be discarded, it goes beneath the... Oh. So I don't have to take a horror if it goes beneath the agenda. Yeah. Okay. And then there's still 1 in place. This goes back. I'm just gonna place the doom on Elisabetta now before I forget. I got a huge beast at my location. Oh my god, it's horrible. And we're gonna draw an encounter card. It's chaos in the water! Ah! There's like tentacles everywhere. There's screaming. Test agility 4. Not gonna happen. Agent investigator who... Okay. Fails, take a damage, which has to go to the reveler. It's gonna kill the reveler for sure. I can't succeed. Even on an elder sign, I only get a +1, so I'll test it because it could be really bad or it could just be as bad as it's gonna be. Yeah, that's really bad. Oh, no, it's not. Nidathqua is not in play, so... Chaos in the water. The garden backs onto one of the canals. The garden's quiet elegance stands in stark contrast to the raucous celebrations throughout the city. Nope. There's screaming, the crunching of bones, this floating figure in front of Roland has already consumed Alice Luxley, and as he staggers backwards with his gun, the woman behind him is caught by a tentacle and dragged into the water. The damage has to be assigned to her, so she is discarded. When she would be discarded, place her underneath the agenda deck. Each investigator takes a horror. So yeah, I will do so. I guess I'll put the horror on me. Now, it says 5 out of 5, but of course I have 1 sanity from the Hawkeye folding camera. This is it, everybody. This is the end of the game. This is how things end. And now I believe we advance. Chaos in the water. If there are a total of 3 innocent revelers underneath... Oh, no, there aren't, right? There's only 2 beneath the agenda deck because there's still 1 in play and I know where it is. At least I have a clue so I can, like, get it and stuff. Okay. However, because it is the investigation phase, it's very simple. We deal a damage, we shoot it, we use the vicious blow, we kill it, here we go. Right? Right. Does it have retaliate? It has retaliate. It's so horrible! I'm gonna use the 45 automatic. Roland watches in utter shock as his ally disappears. The woman is dragged under the water. He hears the cries of the other agency men being crunched into. He's gonna take a wild shot. +1! 2 damage. I'm going to deal a damage to the agency backup, which will kill it, but it puts a damage on this beast as well. So a couple of them toting shotguns run in and blast at the baleful reveler who seems to be hurt, but again with a wave of its bony hand they simply keel over and are consumed by tentacles dragging them down into the water. Roland's out. Roland's out of bullets. He's out of everything. He's all out of bubblegum. We're gonna have to try to fight, and you know, this is it actually. Yeah, this is the end of the. Maybe I'll re-record this. Who knows? I mean, I'd love a win on Doomed. God, these standalone scenarios. Oh, you have to spend 3 experience to play Carnevale of Horrors. Why would I want to spend experience? Horrible. Never got my Pathfinder. You know what? Bad luck, I'm gonna say. 5v4. Whoa! Oh my god! Roland! He launches himself at the beast and, thinking it might be less than corporeal, is surprised to discover that it is not. Incorporeal. A thud as it hits the pavement, its head cracking against the cobblestones beneath. Roland punches over and over and over and over until the reveler lies still. Goes in the display. That's great news. Last action. I know what this is, so we're gonna flip this innocent reveler at my location. Oh, and I defeated an enemy, so I get this clue, and then I'm going to crack the case to gain 3 resources. Because, why not? We cracked the case! Well, we cracked his head, and we cracked the case. My god, they're after the innocent revelers. The cult was simply looking to sacrifice a few select members of Venice. Roland realizes far too late. Now that the beast is at its full strength, it is simply attempting to consume the city whole. Oh, I can't believe I defeated so many people. That was like absolutely wild. Okay. Whew. Enemy phase. There are no hunters left anymore. So I draw a card and take a resource. I've had worse. I am gonna save that for something, and I don't know what yet. We're gonna at least be able to put 1 beneath the act deck and hopefully not die. Oh, God. Absolutely horrible. I cannot believe that vicious blow landed. Mythos phase. We go to 1 out of 3 doom. Well, 2 out of 3 doom. I'm gonna, again, just before I forget, I'm gonna put another doom on Elisabetta. And I'm going to draw an encounter card. Chaos in the water! Aw, man! Well, I won't die. Test. Nope. Take a damage. I don't... It must be assigned to an innocent... Oh, I take the damage if I own an innocent reveler. If I have one, then it gets assigned to them, but I don't. So Roland is battered, bruised, bloodied. Because of the photos he's managed to take with the camera, at least he's not completely insane yet, as he watches as horrific squid-like tentacles wrap themselves around revelers and squeeze until they burst, their eyeballs popping out of their skulls. He watches as members of the crowd step out of it, removing their masks and showing either flames or small writhing appendages coming off their face as they grin. I suppose I've had worse the damage, but I'm obviously not. I'm going to save it for what I need. Okay, first things first, we have to test to get this reveler on our side. We're testing Intellect 2, we're parlaying. Roland, slashed, bloodied, and with a wild look in his eyes, just whips his head around. He growls at the woman cowering at the young man cowering in the corner. He growls at him, "Come with me." We're testing 4v2. Good, done. Parlay. Parlay! And then, second action, I think this is okay. Okay. Second action, I could heal 2 horror. However, I'm pretty sure what happens next is we advance. So instead, I'm going to regret this. I'm going to move. Ah, balls. Yeah. So Rialto Bridge says after you leave it, lose an action. What I wanted to do, I'll just explain it to you, Doom viewers. I wanted to move to the Rialto Bridge, free move with the Abbess, and then tuck the Reveler safely away, but I can't because I would lose the action to do so. So instead, I'm going to spend 2 resources and 2 actions to heal 2 horror. Doesn't help me with the damage, but it does something. Enemy phase again. There are no enemies that are hunters, so nothing happens. We draw a card and gain a resource. It's the other Hawkeye, but it's a willpower icon. I will take that. In the Mythos phase, again, we remove all the Doom in play, and I'm just going to put 1 back on Elisabetta, and we're going to advance again. We know what this says, right? Dull chant overtakes the screaming. Its language ancient and morbid. The people removing their masks, either aflame or with these little writhing appendages. Tentacles course through the canals. There are no more masked Carnevale goers in play, because I have the Innocent Reveler in my possession. Advance to Agenda 3A. In the lagoon, an ancient terror stirs. The creature's tentacles coil around the city, and the water level begins to rise. As if in response, the chanting you hear throughout the city grows louder. After a writhing appendage enters play, place 2 Doom on it. Yeah, okay. I mean, that sucks. Well, yeah, that sucks. And then at the end of the Mythos phase, a Doom goes on Elisabetta Magro, who definitely wants something to happen. I don't know what, but it's something. And I don't think I've missed any weird triggers or anything. Oh, I have to draw an encounter card. It's mesmerized. It gains surge. It's mass hysteria. You must either take 2 damage or take each masked Carnevale goer, shuffle them, place 1 in each location, starting with the location clockwise from you. So because of the hysteria, you would take all of the masked goers and shuffle them around. However, I can't. So instead I have to take 2 damage. However, I've had worse. Say it with me, everybody. I've had worse. I'm canceling the 2 damage. Oh, okay, so the hysteria, again, it's building to a fever pitch. Roland grabs the young man, basically just like, firemanning him over his back as he begins to run for the Abbess, and he runs towards the church. I can't believe I'm alive. First action, we're moving to the bridge. Free trigger to move to the Basilica, but we do lose an action from the bridge because, there's appendages all over it. Third action, tuck the Innocent Reveler beneath the act deck. And it's the end of my turn, but we're advancing now. Act 1B, the beast emerges. Many of the revelers are under sway of a foul spell. No, they can't see the danger emerging around them. Well, that's changed. You push your way through the crowded streets, gathering what few sane revelers you can find. 1 who isn't dead, guiding them towards the relative safety of the Basilica. Let's say this 1 represents like at least 10. That'll be nice. As the last of them is escorted inside, the ground shakes violently, and a watery shape looms above the island to the south from deep within the lagoon. The revelers in the street begin to unmask. Put the set aside Naidathqua enemy into play in the center of all locations. It is considered to be in play, but is not at any location. The lead investigator chooses a masked Carnevale goer and flips it. I can't. I don't have any left to do. I'm going to put Naidathqua into play, and then I'll read Act 2B. This is the many-armed beast living just south of Venice. Who knew? It's a 4/8 blank. You may fight Naidathqua as if it were at your location and is not engaged with you. It cannot be evaded, but it's not at your location. You can fight it as if it's at your location, but yeah. Forced. After you fail a test while attacking it, you have to put a writhing appendage into play, which gains 2 doom because of the agenda. If it is defeated, R2. I will not be killing this thing, so I'm hoping there's another way out. Get to the boats! Act 2A. The civilians in the Basilica are safe for now, but Venice is doomed if you don't act quickly. Doomed. Brand. The only way to ensure the safety of the sacrifices is to draw the creature in the lagoon away from the city. Sweat beads down your forehead as you realize this decision may be your last. Roland, you are a man of the people. You are going to save this city if it's the last thing you do. After the mythos, legs trembling, you head towards the moored boats docked by the canals. If each undefeated investigator is at canal side, advance. After the mythos phase begins, choose a masked Carnevale goer and flip it. So, if I had gotten here faster to this act, they begin to unmask the revelers one at a time. Oh, actually, yeah. So in fact, at the beginning of the next mythos, I'm sorry, I totally missed this. Lead investigator chooses a masked Carnevale goer. It's this guy. I totally forgot there is one still. This is Don Lagorio, the secret servant. Hunter. He's connected in both directions. Okay. Oh, that's so... Okay, because now it's the enemy phase. Oh, and I'm sorry, we should actually read the objective, which I'll never get to. If each undefeated investigator is at canal side, advance. I have to get to canal side, and I just can't. If I had, like, you know, track shoes or something hilarious. In the enemy phase, Don Lagorio, now unmasked, knows who his enemy is. It's you! So he moves to the streets of Venice. Upkeep. We have nothing to ready, but the abbess readies. Draw a card and gain a resource. It's steadfast. Willpower. I mean, I don't have any guns. I discarded them both because I'm an idiot. We're not gonna be able to... Oh boy, maybe we can just try to evade him and just move? Anyway, mythos phase. This will kill us anyway, right? So we go to 1 out of 2. 1 out of 3. Sorry, 2 out of 3 doom. It's a sentinel. It spawns at the location across from you. No, it spawns at canal side. Meh. Okay, well, that sucks. Jeez. That's where we need to go. Okay. So steadfast will help me, I guess. It'll help me fight, but it won't help me do anything else. If you loop your deck, you can get everything back. And I have, like, all the resources I need to play stuff now, so, like, hooray! Okay. The Abbess can move me for free. Streets of Venice can move me for free. I can automatically evade a non-elite enemy at the location in the counterclockwise direction. So maybe I just try to evade and hope to get lucky. Otherwise, he's just gonna... Yeah, he's gonna kill me and there's nothing I can do. So free trigger move. Action 1 move. Lose 2 resources and we become... engaged. Oh, with the guy. With the guy. It's Don Lagorio. Okay. So, 2 actions. Can't kill him. Don't have any damage. Just... Roland is running. He's sweating profusely as the screams continue to erupt from the city. The chanting grows louder. He's headed for canal side. He's hoping to get a boat and lead the creature away from Venice. Hoping to not have it destroy the city. If I can evade him, I'll be able to like do some more stuff, which will be really nice, I think. So Don Lagorio, the secret servant, emerges from the dark. Well, he holds up a flintlock pistol. Roland cocks an eyebrow at him, then remembers he's out of bullets. Stop, human. You will not end our Lord's plan. He's here. Let's evade. I'm a 2v3. Huge fail! One more? 2v3? No! Huge fail again. Okay. Oh, that's it. I didn't have a lot of possibilities. I suppose I could have waited for him to come further and then maybe try to draw some more. I could have tried to draw more cards, but I know I have like at least 3 weaknesses left in my deck. See, I'm just checking. And I have at least, no, I have 2 weaknesses. No, 3 weaknesses left out of 8 cards. I just don't think I have any agility icons. Don Lagorio fires his flintlock pistol. Roland looks down, sees the blood oozing from his chest. He collapses onto the ground. He looks south and sees the many-armed terror rising up over the city of Venice, its tentacles crushing the very islands themselves. Let's read our resolution, shall we? Each investigator was defeated. You sputter awake as an oar gently taps your shoulder. Tutto bene? The gondolier holding the oar says with a concerned expression. You nod. You drag yourself onto the docks from his gondola, drenched and aching all over. The city is devastated. Most of the boats in the canal are wrecked. The streets are covered, not in confetti, but in blood. In your campaign log, record that many were sacrificed to Nidathqua during the Carnevale. Each investigator earns experience equal to Victory X. That's 4. Move 1 innocent reveler from underneath the act to underneath the agenda, if able. So that's 3. That's all of them. Proceed to additional rewards, page 11. I guess this is why you'd want to play this. In player order, each investigator may choose one of the following mask cards and add it to the deck. Ooh. If there are no innocent revelers underneath the act deck and at least one underneath the agenda deck, proceed to sacrifice made. All right. Too many lives were lost during the eclipse to stop the machinations of Nidathqua's servants. The beast has been fed, its minions empowered. You find yourself hoping you don't live long enough to see the fallout of your failure. Each investigator searches the collection for a random basic madness, injury, or monster, and adds it to the campaign. Yeah, adds it to the campaign, adds it to the deck. Well, that's the Carnevale of Horrors! Clap, 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 clap. Doomed, living up to its name again! Clap, 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 clap. Roland managed to take out many terrors that night with Alice Luxley, with the remaining backup of the FBI, but it just wasn't enough. The beast's plans were too far gone before he even arrived. If this were a campaign, I would have an extra injury, I would have a physical trauma, fine, and but I would take a mask. Masks are items that they gain new resources when they come into play, and I think you can discard them to use one of your stats in place of other stats once. So, I mean, they're okay. Like, it's interesting, certainly. I'm 0 for 2 on standalone scenarios of Doomed, unfortunately. I'm really looking forward to actually, like, winning one of these. But, more importantly, I'm looking forward to the next campaign we are to begin, which, again, should be, we'll see how it goes. Thank you so much for joining me today on Doomed. If you have any comments, questions, concerns, if I misplayed something horribly, you're like, no, clockwise is the other direction, feel free to leave them in the comments down below. I love making these, and I hope you enjoy watching them as well. This has been Doomed. Hope to catch you next time, not on the banks of Venice.